clicking their icon on DeWittDailyNews.com.
DeWittDailyNews.com is the area's leading local news source 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. Get the latest local news, obituaries, police blotter, weather forecast, and more with no paywall. Head to DeWittDailyNews.com to get the local information you need to know.
Your friend in Central Illinois. WHOW.
It's the WHOW Morning Show. I'm your host today, Ben Hubbard. The WHOW Morning Show streams to Facebook and YouTube, brought to you by Peterson Insurance, your Pekin insurance agent in Clinton. My guest on the Zoom this morning, Mr. Mike Albano from the National Weather Service in Lincoln. Mike, how are we doing today?
Hey, I'm doing well. Thanks for having us.
Yeah, appreciate you taking time for me today. How was your holiday season? Happy New Year. Any big plans that you got to do over the break?
Well, I'll tell you one thing. I think I had a 5-pound Christmas, way too many sweets. Ready to get back into the gym? Maybe.
Right. Yep. I even had a story about that on the news this morning. Got to get those New Year's resolutions going, right?
Oh man, every year it's you start out so hopeful, and then about March you're like, I don't know. I don't think I can do it.
Well, let's keep things focused, and we'll keep those goals in the positive mindset here while we're still early in January. And while we're talking about early in January, let's kind of go over what this forecast is going to look like just going into this weekend, Friday, Saturday, Sunday. What are we looking forward to?
Yeah, so we're the forecast looks like it's going to be seasonable temperatures. So this time of year, we're looking at the average high temperature in the mid 30s and the overnight lows right around 20 degrees. So we'll be on track for that today, tomorrow. And as we start to get into early next week, we flip the switch. It gets unseasonably warm. So I personally am looking forward to that. And it looks like our next meaningful chance for rain doesn't really occur until the middle to late stages of next week.
Gotcha. Yeah, I'm a summer birthday guy, so I'm looking forward to the warm weather as well. But we've had a really crazy kind of weather pattern over the holiday season here. It was super warm, Christmas in the 60s, and then obviously things kind of froze over, and then we're going to get warm again. Can you kind of explain that process a little bit? Maybe why that happens, or at least kind of your best guess?
Yeah, sure. Right now we're kind of riding in something called a weak La Nina pattern, and with that comes a lot of variability. We can get shots of cold air, as we did in the month of December. I remember 2 stretches in particular where we actually set some record lows here in Lincoln. And then, yeah, as you mentioned, Christmas week comes. We get well into the 60s with even some tornadoes. That's not unusual for a weak La Nina pattern. As we flip ahead over the coming weeks and the coming months, that weak La Nina pattern is expected to persist. So the story being quite a bit of variability will also persist, we think, these first few months of 2026.
Yeah, and as we've heard from Ed Shimon over there at the National Weather Service, and a big friend of the program, that warm weather, unseasonable warm weather can often bring severe weather, like you said. Can you speak to, I know I myself in Decatur heard the tornado sirens going off over the holiday. Speak to that severe weather that we kind of had just come across the state.
Yeah, I think anytime you're dealing with temperatures in the 60s during the cold season, you're like, all right. And then you're like, oh no, because a lot of times it's one of the same there with the severe weather signal. And the models really seem to struggle with the signal, 5 to 7 days out. But as we started to get into the 1 to 2 days ahead of the event, we started to see that signal take shape, and that squall line came, and it did. We had a good handful of tornadoes that we confirmed. Mm-hmm. It's never fun. A lot of times, we'll get a squall line that will produce some tornadoes this time of year. It's warm ahead of the front. That front comes through, and then temperatures fall into the teens, and we have to go out and survey the damage. So it's never pleasant ever, but especially this time of year to survey damage in the wind and the cold with even some flurries. It's a challenge.
Yeah, Yeah, definitely. I'm sure. So, you said this weekend we're going to have, a little bit more of the same as we've had those colder temperatures going back into those warm temperatures. Are we going to see any severe weather coming up in this next week or so?
Yeah, so we look for Thursday as that next chance. Temperatures are going to surge well into the mid 50s, if not close to 60 again by the middle of next week. And with that, some rain. Still a little bit of uncertainty on where the disturbance will ultimately kind of pivot across the central U.S. or if it's going to stay kind of down along the southern Mississippi Valley. But the point being, yeah, we are seeing another signal for some maybe strong storms as we get into the middle to late stages of next week.
Yeah. Speak to, maybe some of the dangers that come with those rainstorms in this winter season, especially with those freezes and the black ice that maybe starts to form with that kind of weather pattern.
Yeah, a few things kind of rattle around the cage on, heavier precipitation events this time of year. A lot of times with the variability, so we'll get a stretch of Arctic weather and, we can get a frost depth and then we can go right into this period of, moderate to heavy rainfall. So, for example, if whenever the soils are frozen and we get like an inch of rain on top of it, think that the soils can't really, um, draw in any of that moisture. So it just kind of sits on top of it or runs off. We can actually get some pretty serious flooding this time of year, just with the different swings in temperature. And if we do get a heavier slug of rain, sometimes it could be quite dangerous. And then, as you mentioned, anytime you go from kind of mild back to cold, we can get flash freezes. We can get black ice. Um, so it's always a challenge to kind of message to the public. A lot of times we're also one of the windier parts of the country, so that a lot of times will mitigate the flash freezing. Those winds will kind of come and almost dry things out, which we've certainly seen that a few times this winter already
Mhm.
during flash freeze setups. So yeah, there's a lot of different factors that go into it.
You mentioned that flooding aspect of it, and we've been talking about. I feel like for so long these drought conditions in central Illinois, and how dry it's been, especially through the fall and through the harvest season. But it's not always as simple as we get some rain in the winter and it kind of fixes those drought conditions, right?
Yeah, drought, the latest drought outlook, I'm looking at it here on my screen. They released it on Wednesday. So yeah, for a good portion of at least Logan County, Macon, DeWitt, Piatt, going into Champaign County, we're still under a severe to extreme drought, which is kind of unusual this time of year. I was looking at the soil moisture, and it looks like with the late fall and early winter recharge, we've at least had some. Um, the soils are, I would say, are at least functionally moist, in that top 4 to 8 inches. We've seen some recharge or some improvement in some of those root zones. But the core, if you go down to like 20 inches, it is still abnormally dry. Some of the driest on record even. So even though we've seen some improvement in that top layer of soil, you go down about a meter, 20 inches even, and it is really, really dry. So
Yeah.
hopefully we build on that and improve ahead of spring.
Yeah. Definitely interesting stuff. Interesting stuff. Again, Mike Albano from the National Weather Service in Lincoln. We've kind of covered our weekend and our next week. How about let's jump into that 8 to 14 day outlook? What are we going to be seeing after we have that warm up that's coming next week?
Yeah, best we could tell right now is temperatures will kind of stay oscillate between their seasonal normals. So again, the seasonal normals for this time of year, highs in the mid 30s, lows around 20. So we'll get through this next week warm up. We'll kind of dip back down to normal. We might even have another stretch of mild weather. But one thing we're really starting to see a signal for is much colder weather spilling in for the last half of January, maybe early February as well. So we will be prone to maybe a glancing blow of Arctic temperatures, some very cold weather, but it doesn't look like it's going to stick around for very long in either case. So, it might be a night or two of very frigid temperatures, but then we seem to come right back up near normal. So, that's what we're looking for on the temperature side of things as we get late into January. And then February, we're starting to look at those signals as well.
Yeah, I mean, I hate to go back to something that we covered a little bit already, but it just feels like even throughout the whole winter, still to come, is just this up and down, up and down. Were you guys able to predict this? Were you guys kind of aware that maybe this was going to be a crazy winter as far as highs and lows?
I think anytime we get into this weak La Nina pattern, there's just so much variability, even volatility that we can see. So, we kind of get a sense that there can be some wild swings back and forth, and that's been the rule, sure enough, this late fall, early winter.
Yeah. So you highlighted, as we get towards February, maybe not as long of a winter as we hope. So we're thinking that maybe the things are going to warm up as we get into March and the end of that 3-month outlook.
Yeah, we'll leave that one up for the groundhog. I don't know. No. But what we're expecting is, this weak La Nina to kind of transition to a neutral ENSO phase, which again will offer quite a bit of variability. It's really hard to kind of pluck out a signal amongst all the noise that we see amongst the global climate models. So, right now we don't really have a really good handle on what early spring could look like. So they kind of joke about the groundhog, but we'll have to kind of look at some other just seasonal pattern recognition and other factors to get a handle on the forecast.
Definitely. Well, as I look at the clock, it's about time for a break, but I do have one more question for you before we transition into that. Just thinking about 2025 as a whole, how has, your job changed? How has predicting weather pattern changed with, technology and different strategies, maybe just throughout this year that you guys have used there?
I think one thing that we've really been trying to work on the last few years is not necessarily the way that we forecast, but the way that we communicate that forecast, right? You can have the most accurate or the best forecast in the world, but if you don't communicate it correctly or in an effective manner, it kind of falls on deaf ears. So we've really been trying to hit the probabilistic communication. So, when we say rain is likely, we'll try and attach like a probability, like maybe a 60 or 80% chance of rain. And we feel like that'll give more people the ability to kind of take that probabilistic information and make more informed decisions from it.
Yeah. And I feel like the same is true for your guys' emergency information as well. It feels like you guys are putting out a lot more information and safety tips when it comes to severe weather, no matter the season.
Yeah, look, communication is hard, so we're always trying to fine tune the way that we communicate the forecast and the associated hazards. Hopefully, we've made some strides over the last decade.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, let's take a quick break. More to come with Mike Albano from the National Weather Service in Lincoln. We'll jump into our top weather events from 2025 as we wrap up the year. Once again, more to come with Mike Albano on the WHOW Morning Show.
WHOW.
Mark 15. 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5.
Let's check the opening number now at the Chicago Board of Trade on this Friday. Jim Taylor, RFD, Radio Network. Corn, beans, and Chicago wheat starting the day lower. March corn opening 439, down 1 1/4. May corn 447, down 1 1/4, and December new crop 459.5, down a penny. January beans starting the day 1027.5, down 3. March beans down 5 1/4, 1042.25. November new crop 1059.5, down a nickel.
Baum Chevrolet Buick offers full transportation options while giving you peace of mind. This is Scott Baum from Baum Chevrolet Buick here in Clinton. This is what we do every day. We listen to you, give you options for routine maintenance, major mechanical problems, or collision repairs with a staff that's knowledgeable to find the best option for you. Baum Chevrolet Buick, your full service dealer. See us at baumchevybuick.com right from the start.
AgriTalk is the radio talk show for American agriculture. Hi, everybody. I'm Chip Flory, your host. We join you weekday mornings from 10 until 11 on WHOW, on AM and FM, and on the WHOW streams. We provide farmers and ranchers with timely insights and information aimed at improving their operations. Join me, Chip Flory, weekdays at 10:06 on Central Illinois Ag Station, WHOW.
Your friend in Central Illinois, WHOW.
It's the WHOW Morning Show. I'm your host today, Ben Hubbard. The WHOW Morning Show streams to Facebook and YouTube, courtesy of Peterson Insurance, your Pekin insurance agent in Clinton. We continue with our guest on the Zoom, Mike Albano from the National Weather Service in Lincoln. And Mike, as we wrap up 2025, not only, like as we were saying before, a crazy just winter season of weather, but kind of a crazy whole year of weather here in Central Illinois. So let's kind of go over some of those top weather events that people might remember from 2025.
Yeah, I've got the highlights here in front of me. What a while. We look back to January of 2025, and we highlighted the 5th and 6th as a pretty major winter storm for parts of west central and central Illinois. 6 to 10 inches fell January 5th and 6th of 2025. We had some cold snaps in there as well. Wind chills 20 to 30 below right through the area. And then I think what was probably the wildest period, spring into early summer, we had a lot of severe weather. So middle of March, we had the 14th and 15th outbreak. 8 tornadoes near and along I-57. Some of those not too far from the Clinton area. And then a few weeks later, April 2nd, we had another good significant tornado event down along I-70. And I think one of the most memorable things that I can remember from May of last year was the major dust storm that we had across central Illinois. Made it all the way up to Chicagoland, made national news headlines, something called a haboob, which you really only see in desert areas. But we were just kind of that point in the season where a lot of planting was kind of fresh. That top layer of soil was loose and dry, and we get some gusty winds around here, as you and I both know. So a really big dust event, something we've seen increasingly over the last few years around these parts of the state.
That's an interesting one. I remember where I was when that happened too. I was at a Clinton baseball game. I was getting ready to call the game, and I was talking to the coach. And all of a sudden, I look over. I'm like, "Oh my gosh, what is going on?" I had no idea it was coming, and I thought it was a tornado. I thought I wasn't about to do that broadcast. That's for sure.
Yeah, it really has become a concern. You think about too, just the we have a lot of runway with interstate miles that run through central Illinois, and of course, it's very ag central here. A lot of open prairie and farmland, and we become susceptible. East of the Mississippi, I think we are one of the leaders in dust storms the last 5 years. So that's another thing we kind of look at and study. But as we get something too, I think one of the most picturesque tornado outbreaks that we've had here in recent memory was in June. So right around the summer solstice, we had 15 tornadoes that occurred on June the 18th. So that was a pretty memorable day. We had some flash flooding, but as we started to turn the corner into late summer and into fall, things really started to dry out. We really weren't that busy with severe weather. And in fact, we started a pretty severe drought.
Yeah, so maybe recap the start of that drought, maybe, and if you have any information on how that affected the harvest season. That's a really big deal. Lots of dust, lots of possibility for field fires and things like that with that dry weather through the harvest.
Yeah, and I think if memory serves me correctly, I think farmers were out harvesting, weeks ahead of schedule.
Yeah.
Just as a testament to that really dry stretch that we started to get in August. I think in the city of Springfield, it was the second driest August on record.
Mm.
At Peoria, I think it was near the top 10 on record driest. So, in the summertime, it can kind of be hard you'll get clusters of thunderstorms that'll kind of upset the broader pattern. There'll be some pockets that really don't, they're not as in bad shape as others, but August was quite dry, and that continued into September, October, and
Mhm.
we still have D3 or severe drought across East Central Illinois in particular.
Yeah, so I know you had mentioned that those drought levels are record-setting in some areas. Were there any other moments from throughout the year, either high or low temperatures or record amounts of rain that were set in 2025?
I think on the whole we weren't too far off. I think middle of the pack as far as precipitation occurred for the year 2025. Um, it looks I think we were looking about 20 to 24 inches of rain or precip fell
Mhm.
during the year. But sometimes the distribution of that precipitation really does matter. July was a very wet month.
Mhm.
Um, I recall even at my house, we had like 8 inches of rain during the month of July. A lot of that fell just within a 2 or 3 day period. So, I think what that does is it doesn't allow the soils to kind of take it in nice and slow. You get more runoff, and it's not as beneficial when you just kind of blast the fire hose on top of the soils. But
Yeah.
um, yeah, we're forecast to improve the drought through the remainder of winter, and hopefully that gives us a little bit of resilience heading into spring.
Yeah, definitely, Mike. Still a couple of minutes to go here with you. Any other trends from throughout this year to note? Anything from maybe earlier in the year that may have slipped our mind from what seems like so long ago?
Yeah, I think just I have some notes scribbled down here with the tornado outbreak that we had last weekend. 2025 is going to go down as the third most tornadoes in the state of Illinois on record,
Mm.
with about preliminary, of course, but we're up to 127 tornadoes on the calendar year, and
2024 was a record, wasn't it?
that's the thing too. Yeah, I'm looking at the top three. So number one, 2024 at 176 tornadoes. Number two was the year 2023 at 145, and number three now is 2025 at 127 tornadoes. So our last 3 years have really ranked in the top three, and that's kind of been an upsetting trend.
Yeah. Are there any, maybe inklings on why there might be more tornadoes each year?
Um, I think a lot of it is just our understanding of tornadoes continues to improve
Sure.
year over year. The technology continues to improve, even satellite. So we simply call more things
Interesting.
tornadic damage than we did a decade ago. And a big part of that, yes, is the science has evolved, the technology has evolved. We can even do storm surveys now via satellite. Something called the Sentinel-2 or the Copernicus network. It's the Europeans have this polar orbiting satellite, high resolution, multispectral channels. So, and we get a pass of that over central Illinois every 2 or 3 days. So we get a lot of cropland that, if a little tornado touched down and you didn't have good, over top visual of it,
Mhm.
you would never know it happened. But today we can see that through satellite. So we're just, I think, calling more things tornadic. We can see more things, and we're getting more tornadoes because of it.
Mike, where does everyone go to find all the things that are coming out of the National Weather Service in Lincoln?
Yeah, you can go to weather.gov/ILX. You can find us on the socials. We have a pretty good presence on X and as Facebook as well.
That's Mike Albano with the National Weather Service in Lincoln on the WHOW Morning Show.
The Big 1520 WHOW Clinton, along with 92.3 FM Clinton and 106.5 FM Blue.